All right, so one of people's biggest concerns with the PlayStation VR 2 is the games library. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things is there's no backwards compatibility with PSVR 1 games, which I think is a big deal. I think they should try, I don't know, the logistics behind that, but if they could make the PSVR 1, catalog backwards compatible with the PSVR 2, I think that would add a massive incentive for people who already own the PSVR 1, but have not yet bought a PSVR 2. But I do want to talk about something specific that I think would be a great idea for PlayStation to consider in terms of creating an even, larger and more diverse library for the PSVR 2. Sorry, I'm just putting my headset down there. So this is something that I actually wanted to talk about in a previous video. We were talking yesterday, at the time of recording this was yesterday. It could have been a month, before. It could have been years before, for all I know, the time you're watching this. Maybe you're watching this in the year 3000 and, it's everybody's like cyborgs now or something. No, just kidding. But no, the point is, I was talking about, the whole topic is the PSVR 2 already failing? If you want to check out that video, it's a whole other topic. But one thing I wanted to mention in that video that I didn't get to, and then I realized after that I was like, you know what, let's talk about this in its own video, is this idea to create a bigger library for the PSVR 2. Now, as of right now, it is worth noting that the PSVR 2 library is already pretty big. I was actually sorting through some of my own games yesterday, and I realized I already have like 15 or 16 roughly PSVR 2 games. And before the PSVR 2 came out, I was super concerned with, is there going to be enough games that I'm really going to be into? Is there going to be enough software that's going to, that personally I'll utilize? And that was my biggest concern with, the PSVR 2. And then when I got it, I just kept getting more and more games, either, as review codes from companies. Massive thanks to them. And massive thanks to you guys for supporting the channel to even make that possible. It still blows my mind every time it happens. I never get used to it, by the way. And it's always extremely humbling. But that aside, that's a little bit of a sidetrack topic. All that to say, I realized I have a lot more games than I realized, and games that I'm actually enjoying. I actually have been enjoying, the majority of these games, and the library is really good. So for example, I personally been playing stuff like Pavlov. I got Star Wars Enhanced Deluxe Edition. I'm actually going to go to my library right here and let you guys know what games I've been personally playing before we get into what I'm talking about, because I want you to know first where we're standing right now, and that it's already a really good start, a strong start, and then how we can make that even better, how PlayStation could make that better. We don't really have much of a say. We can give them our feedback. I don't know if they'll listen. Anyway, so I got Before Your Eyes, which is a cool kind of game. I got like some other kind of, random free games like this cactus game, some, rhythm games like Drums Rock, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Pavlov, which is a lot of fun, Star Wars, Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, which I'm a big fan of because I'm a sucker for Star Wars, okay? The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Switchback VR, just to name a couple, right? There's a bunch of games that I've been playing. Pistol Whip, a lot of great games that are just really, really fun. A lot of fun. But one thing I realized is that at least two of the games I own, there's actually more than that I just don't own, but at least two of the games I own are actually flat screen games that have VR versions of them. See where I'm going with this? I think you might. So Gran Turismo 7, right? Obviously this game came out months ago. And it wasn't a VR game. It's not built for VR specifically. In fact, all the menus and everything is still on a flat screen when you go into the VR. It's like a flat screen in like a theater cinema kind of mode. It's only once you actually start the race where it switches over to VR at that point. So obviously the game was not built specifically for VR. There's added a VR mode later. So if you already own Gran Turismo 7, you get a VR game for free, which, by the way, I still think, like, Gran Turismo 7, I think the best way to play it is in VR. Like, now that I've experienced it, it's not even the same as going into like first person mode. I actually hate driving in first person mode in like pretty much any racing game. I hate it. I'm always in like a third person mode where it's kind of like, it's like that medium camera, right? It's not too close, not too far. It's like that medium kind of camera, third person, if you know what I mean. That's how I like it. But VR it changes the game, man. Okay, first person, sure, but like you're in there, you're moving around, you can check your blind spot. It's crazy. The point being, you already own that game, you got a VR game for free right there. Resident Evil Village, okay, is the other one. You already own that game. Boom, there's another free game, right? I already owned Resident Evil Village. I played through the game. I loved it. Out of all the Resident Evil games I've played so far, it's one of my favorites. And it's crazy. It's really well done in VR. Here's the ironic part though, okay? Listen to this. The two games that people have been saying are probably some of the best PSVR2 games are ironic. Hello, Siri? I'm not talking to you. The two PSVR2 games that people say are some of the best PSVR2 games right now, ironically, are Gran Turismo 7 and Resident Evil Village. Two games that were not built for PSVR2. They were built for flat screen and then added a VR mode afterwards. And those are two of people's most favorite games so far. Not even Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is good and I think it's worth playing through. But honestly, not even that game comes close to Gran Turismo 7 and Resident Evil Village in my book, okay? Horizon Call of the Mountain, a lot of fun, but I do have some gripes with it. It's like I said, if you own a PSVR 2, I think it's one of those must-play games, although I would probably wait for a sale personally. Point being, though, the two games people deem some of the best PSVR 2 games are games that were adapted. They had a VR mode added. Now, with Resident Evil 4 Remake that just came out, which I played on the channel recently in the non-VR mode, because again, we're not just VR on this channel, we're gaming. Gaming news, walkthroughs, let's plays, whatever. I just love doing it all. I hope that's not too confusing for you guys. Let me know in the comments, by the way, if you think that is. I always like to get your guys' feedback. I love games too much, man. I have a hard time putting myself in a box. So, point being, Resident Evil 4 Remake is coming out with a VR mode. So we're going to be getting an update at some point whenever that comes out that, you can play in PSVR 2, which I'm going to bring you guys some gameplay on that too, because I love Resident Evil 4 Remake. A lot of fun. And so that, again, is going to be one that's just like, you already own the game on, flat screen version. Oh, here you go. Here's a VR mode. You get what I'm getting at? Dude, why not do this with the majority of the other games that we already have on the PlayStation catalog, whether it's third-party games or whether it's first-party games? I don't know the logistics behind this, okay? I don't know how complicated it is, to make a VR mode for these games, but I do know that obviously Capcom was able to pull it off with Village, in a very good way. Obviously Sony was able to pull it off with Gran Turismo 7, and Capcom's going to be doing this with Resident Evil 4 Remake. So why not do that with more games, right? Where you create a first-person mode. You already have, again, I don't know the logistics behind this. I don't know how much work really goes into this. So, I might be talking just kind of, out of thin air, whatever the phrasing is, right? I don't know if this is something that, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, if creating a VR mode for these games that already exist is easier than just creating a standalone VR game, and also it's a double whammy, right? Because it adds value to the PSVR 2, but it's still one of those things where it's like, okay, people have these flat screen games. They're probably already going to be buying or already own, right? Like I said, I already owned Village and I already owned Gran Turismo 7, and those added two games to my library instantly. And that was a huge incentive for me to get a PSVR 2, because I'm like, well, I already own two PSVR 2 games, technically speaking, that I can try right off the bat, right? Because I already bought those games for the flat screen experience. So if you could do that, that adds so much value, right? Even if I don't want to give them any kind of, whack ideas, but even if they were to charge a very small fee, like $10 for the VR version, which I don't think it would go over well with many people. I think most people would be upset about that. But even if they did that, right, to kind of justify the work going into it, I think even then that's a better option, because people are like, well, I can just get like a VR upgrade for this game either for free or for a small price. For example, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, if you own the PSVR 1 version of it, I believe you're able to upgrade to the PSVR 2 version, which has better graphics and better visuals and all that. I think it was like they were charging like $10. But then Gran Turismo 7, Resident Evil Village was free updates. I believe Resident Evil 4 Remake's gonna be a free update. So you see what I'm getting at? We can add so much more value to the PSVR 2 if more developers and companies were willing to do this. And again, I don't know the logistics. I don't know the work that goes behind it. I don't know if it's a ton of work or something that's, kind of fairly easily adaptable. I don't mean easily like, you flick a switch or something like that. Obviously there's work that has to go into it, but if it's not like, creating a whole game in and of itself, it's less work than that, then why not do that? Why not do that with more games? Because if you do, again, that adds so much more value to the unit. And again, that's like, how many games that I have in that are flat screen that I would love to jump into in VR. Like, I'm thinking like Far Cry 5, they just got an update, the next gen update for like 60 FPS and all that. Far Cry 5 is like one of my favorite games, man. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm like a crazy hillbilly redneck Canadian or whatever you want to call it. I just love the countryside. And so that's probably why I really especially love it. But I would love to jump into that world in VR. That'd be nuts. If, Ubisoft would be willing to do something like that with their games. I think that would also give developers and publishers more of an incentive, because then they're like, hey, well, we're not just making this exclusive VR game that could end up flopping. It's not going to hit a lot of, it's not going to hit with a lot of people. But if we create a VR mode to this flat screen game that we're already making or already released, then that adds incentive, right? There might be more people that buy it, that are like, well, hey, I want to experience this game in VR. That sounds pretty cool, or whatever else. And it's going to sell more PSVR2 units, and it's just a win-win, right? It's kind of like a feeding into the ecosystem, if you will. And I'm looking at my games list. I'm thinking, dude, cool Hogwarts Legacy would be in VR? Do you know how cool Hogwarts Legacy would be in VR, dude? I'd replay the whole game in VR. I'll probably replay the game anyways, because I love that game. But point is, like, there's so many games. So I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts. I don't think, I don't necessarily think they're going to do it, but I would love to see more companies, do that. Imagine The Witcher 3 in VR. I'm looking at The Witcher 3 over here. I'm like, whoa, there's so many possibilities if, developers and publishers would be willing to do it. Kingdom Hearts. That's probably not going to happen, but I love Kingdom Hearts. I mean, if Kingdom Hearts, like VR, bro, that'd be weird. That'd be so cool though. I don't know if it would work. Probably wouldn't work. No, I'm thinking about it. There's so much action. It probably wouldn't work. No, it wouldn't, but it would be cool somehow. Anyways, let me know in the comments below. Is it a good idea? Do you think they should do this? And which flat screen game would you love to see a VR adaptation for? What's some of your favorite games? Maybe give me a 20 game list if you want to. I don't care. Name as many games as you want, but at least give me like at least one, maybe like a top 3 or something, because I'd love to hear what games you guys would love to see in VR. Anyways, that's the video for today. I just wanted to kind of talk about that because I thought it was a really great idea that I hope Sony does and pursues, and other, even third-party publishers and developers, because I think like it'd be amazing. It would really add so much depth to the already solid library for PSVR 2. Anyways, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay well. I'll catch you guys soon. Another one. Until then, game on. I'll see you guys later.